we have a square root. This is like our last unit. How do we solve square root equations? First of all, we have to isolate. So I would isolate the square root by moving the 4 over to the other side. In fact, if I summarize it over here from last unit, this was the big idea for solving these. If we can isolate a square root, then square it, we get rid of it. If it's not isolated and you square both sides, it doesn't get rid of it. But now I move the 4 over, it's isolated. I can put brackets around this and square it, and brackets around this and square it. Squaring a square root, very nice. Gets rid of the square root. Squaring the x minus 4 all squared will give me x squared minus 8x plus 16. We'd have to actually FOIL it out. Can you do x minus 4 times x minus 4 in your head yet? Or would you have to write it out? Eventually you'll get very good at multiplying these out. And now we have a quadratic equation, which is this unit. How do you solve quadratic equations? You'll need to make one side equal to 0. And I always choose the side, it doesn't matter which side you make equal to 0, but I like my x squared to be positive. So notice my x squared is positive on the right side. So I'm going to make my left side 0. I'm going to move my 6 over, move my x over. How would I move my x over? I'd add x to both sides. That will leave me with negative 7x. How would I move the 6 over? I'd subtract 6 on both sides. Gives me plus 10. And then we factor. I already wrote the equals 0 right away, so I wouldn't forget it. X and x. And 2 ways to get 10. 5 and 2 or 10 and 1. But to get 7, I hope you can see that 5 and 2 make sense. I need negative 7, so that'd be negative 5 and negative 2. Double check, is negative 5 times negative 2 plus 10? It is. And so we get 2 answers. And then I'm going to go back to my square root equation. And I'm going to put a number 1 beside isolate then square. That's the first thing you have to remember. And the second thing you have to remember if you square both sides is you do have to verify if it's a square root equation. Okay? This one says it, and I hope you remember yesterday if it was a quadratic equation, I told you you could stroke that out. Your answers will always be right in a quadratic equation. But if it's a square root equation, you do every single time have to verify. So let's do the proper format. Let's verify x equals 5 first. How do we verify? We split it up. We have our original equation, left side and right side. And we have to go back to our original equation. So our original equation was, on the left side, 6 minus x plus 4. And our right side was x, so we're going to plug in 5. 6 minus 5 plus 4. And this one will be 5. 6 minus 5 is 1. Yes. Happiness. This one has been verified. Next, we are going to verify x equals 2. Our left side and our right side. 6 minus 2 plus 4, and on this side will just be 2. 6 minus 2 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2 plus 4. Huh! Is 6 equal to 2? This is our extraneous root. 6 is not equal to 2. So we'll find that with square root equations, we have to verify because sometimes we get an answer that isn't true. And that happens because when you square both sides, you can always think of two numbers that are different, but if you square them, you get the same answer. Like -3 and 3, those aren't the same number. But if I square them, I get 9 both times. So it will appear as an answer, even though you started off with something that's not equal. Okay, so question for this one is just number 12.